Hi everyone, welcome to my green closet. So today's video is going to be a little different. This is a video about elimination communication and cloth diapering. I wasn't planning on making this video, but I've been getting a bunch of questions about this topic, so I thought that I would do a Q&A about it. But before I jump into it, I do want to say that I am not at all an expert on these topics. All I'm going to share is my own personal experience, and there are people who are much more knowledgeable about these, and I will include some more resources and links down below. Before we get into the questions, I will give you a really brief overview of elimination communication, or EC. If you haven't heard of it, it is essentially infant potty training. So basically, since birth, you can start having your child poo or pee in a potty. And the idea is that you look for their cues that they maybe need to go and then develop communication with them so that they can tell you when they have to go potty and you take them there. And then with time, they're just using the potty and you can get them out of diapers. And we wanted to do this for two reasons. I, first of all, think that it's a just more hygienic and comfortable thing for the child to not be sitting in wet diapers. And I like the communication aspect of developing early communication with your baby. And also, I think it's a more sustainable approach. So we went with cloth diapers for the sustainability aspect of not creating a lot of waste. But with cloth diapers, you are still doing a lot of laundry and using energy with that. So I figured the earlier that we can stop using diapers altogether, the better. I'm actually filming this quite late, so let's jump right into the questions. So the first question is, what books did you read to get started with potty training and which would you recommend? So I watched a lot of YouTube videos about it and read some blog posts. The only book that we actually read fully was Go Diaper Free. Again, I will link those resources. And that gave a really good overview of why you might want to do EC, how to do it, some troubleshooting, and also, I guess, made us feel a lot more confident with doing it. So I like that book and I would recommend it. And it also has, I think, maybe even a separate book if you're doing it with an older baby. And I really like that it did talk about some of the common challenges that you might face and maybe what to do, because something that I for sure have noticed is, I guess this is pretty common, but most babies will sort of go through cycles where it's working really well and then maybe it just stops working and they're no longer, signing or communicating or going in the potty. And then it maybe gets better again and then you have another sort of regressions. And so I'm really glad that we knew that that was something that happens and kind of how to navigate that, because I think if we had encountered that without knowing that that was normal, we would have been really at a loss of what was going on. And if you guys have other books or resources to check out, please share those in the comments too. So another question about EC is, how was it tricky? Was there a main responsible or did you do it both? Schedule. Both my husband and I did it with our baby. And was it tricky? I think it can be. It definitely is more complicated than just simply, taking your child to a change mat, changing their diaper. That's pretty simple, but you also don't have the same cleanup as you do, which is actually an interesting point to cloth diapers, because I'll get into this maybe a bit later when someone was asking about how exactly you clean cloth diapers. But doing elimination communication, you have way less poopy diapers, so that is a lot easier to clean up. So in that sense, it is less tricky, but overall, yes, it is a more involved process. It involves, paying attention to trying to read cues from your child. And it generally worked pretty well. Sometimes for sure my daughter was not at all clear with her cues, especially when she was really little. And then they have wet diapers and you just change them as soon as you notice that it's wet, so it's not at all a big deal. So I would say we did have a bit more of a casual approach to it compared to some other people, but you can kind of structure it how it works best for you. What I will say though is we did elimination communication at night, which I know a lot of people don't do. And in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done that. So that essentially involves that, if your baby wakes up, you take them to the potty at night and you do the whole potty routine and then change them instead of just changing them in their room. And this was fine when my daughter was really little and was getting up a lot in the night anyways. But as she got older, I found that taking her to the potty and doing that woke her up a lot more. And so it was sometimes harder to get her back to sleep. And so I kind of wish that at night we had just not done it at all, just changed her diaper and gotten her back to sleep. So that's my thoughts on the night thing. Another person asked about washing cloth diapers, which I'll get into, and any tips for succeeding with elimination communication, as well as how to manage both in public. So with cloth diapering, I would definitely recommend getting a wet bag to keep your wet diapers in. And with doing EC in any public space, you essentially hold the baby over a toilet, or you can also hold them over a sink if you want to do that. I struggled with taking her to the potty in other bathrooms or public restrooms just because of how you have to hold the baby, and the heavier that she got, it was harder to do. So it ended up falling on my husband to take her to the potty most of the time when we were out anywhere, but we also are not really out anywhere very often. So that hasn't been a big issue with us, but I think if we were going out more, I probably would bring our little potty with us, especially if we're just like going to somebody's house. If you're not able to get to a toilet in time, or there just are no toilets available, what we have also done is you just tell your baby, you know, look, I can't take you to the potty right now. If you go in your diaper, I will change you as soon as I can. So this is something you can do if you're in the car or just in any situation where you can't get to a potty. And in terms of getting other people on board, really none of our family is on board with elimination communication. They actually completely came around though, because initially they told us that we were completely crazy for doing this and it was never going to work. And now they're like, wow, I can't believe that works. Oh, that's pretty cool. And they're actually telling their friends. We were really fortunate in that we both were home. I mean, I know a lot of us are home at this point, but we've never had to deal with, you know, my daughter being with somebody else for an extended period of time or at daycare. Those things can make elimination communication a lot more complicated if you have other caretakers who maybe don't want to do it. But the Go Diaper Free book does say that you can do it part-time, so it's not at all an all or nothing kind of approach. So if you are in a situation where there are a lot of different caretakers that aren't interested in doing elimination communication, you still can do it when you're with your child, but I think it just can take a bit longer. If they're not interested in doing elimination communication, I would personally just tell them these are the signs or things to look for, and after the child does that, they will likely need their diaper changed shortly after. So yeah, I don't think that everybody has to be doing it. Like I said, you can even do it part-time and people still have success with that. And so I also got the question of what do you do at night? So like I mentioned, we did do elimination communication at night, and I probably would not do that again. And we used cloth diapers at night for a very long time, up until very recently, because my daughter just recently started leaking through cloth diapers pretty consistently at night, and I haven't found a good solution for that. So we initially started with just the insert, then we did an insert with a booster, and then we tried a thicker insert, and that all worked fine for a while. But now she is leaking through cloth diapers at night because she is bigger, she has more pee. So if you guys have any suggestions for older babies and dealing with cloth diapers at night, I would love to hear them, because I am looking for some solutions, because we are currently using disposables at night until we can figure something out. And so that brings me to another question of, are there times/situations where you are using disposables? So in addition to recently using them at night, we did sometimes use disposables when we would go out to certain places where we knew that we wouldn't be able to change her very easily or very frequently. So essentially with cloth diapers, you feel the wetness a lot more than you do with disposables. And with doing elimination communication, you know, your baby doesn't like the feeling of a wet diaper because it's strange to them. The idea is that you change their diaper right away, so they never really have a wet diaper. So especially with our daughter, And there was a time there for sure where she absolutely hated having a wet diaper and would get really upset and kind of freak out. So in those situations, if we knew that we were going somewhere and we couldn't easily change her, we did use disposables. I obviously really don't like using disposables, but for her comfort in certain situations, we just found that that was what worked. And I am hoping that by doing elimination communication and getting her out of diapers a lot earlier, like, it kind of balances. And another question is, how do you do EC when you're out and about, especially in winter? So a lot of the EC recommendations are that if you are like on a walk somewhere and your child has to go, you just take them to a tree or somewhere that they can go in public spaces in nature. But where we live, it can get down to -30, so I'm obviously not gonna get my daughter naked and have her pee by a tree. So in those situations, we just tell her that there isn't a potty available and she will have to go in her diaper and that we will change her as quickly as we can. So another question is, did you find specific EC clothing helpful? And so this is referring to, they recommend clothing that's really easy to take off, and some people have very specific recommendations for types of clothing to wear. We didn't really go for any like very specific EC type clothing, just anything that was fairly easy to get off in terms of like not a ton of fiddly little things. When my daughter was really little, we mostly kept her in a zipper sleeper or something with a zipper on the bottom, or a top and bottoms or a onesie, so pretty typical baby clothes. But now that she is older and we are teaching her to go to the potty, take her pants down, that kind of stuff, we are definitely looking for pants that are easy for her to pull down. So I guess my answer is that we didn't get any EC specific clothing, but I did avoid a few things just because of how difficult they were to get off. So then I got a bunch of questions about laundry, how it works, what kind of detergent we use. So we wash all of the covers and inserts on hot and then put them all in the dryer. I initially wanted to air dry them. I know some people do that, but I found that we would just have to buy essentially double the amount of inserts and covers, which can get pretty pricey. And somebody else asked how many we have. I believe we have 20 pre-folds and we're using, I think, 6 covers. Many people do use more, but I find that with doing elimination communication, they don't get so wet that we need to change the cover every time. So that's worked well for us. So yeah, we found that if we were going to be air drying them, that would take a whole nother day and a bit because they're super thick, that we would need at least double that, maybe even more pre-folds, which can be really expensive and I think also is wasteful in a sense. So yeah, that's definitely something to weigh. So we did opt to using the dryer, and I do use dryer balls with the pre-folds, and I have found that that's shaved off about 15 to 20 minutes of the dryer. So if you are drying pre-folds, I would definitely recommend getting some dryer balls. Okay, and then for laundry soap, this has been interesting. We have tried a few different detergents, and I still don't know if we've found the winner, but I am currently using this detergent, which is designed for cloth diapers, and it does have a bit of bleach because over time you can get a bit of a buildup and smell to cloth diapers. So this I've found helps with that, but elimination communication also does help with that a lot. My husband actually found this great site that breaks down tons of different detergents and how they work for cloth diapers, so I will link that below as well. That has been a really helpful resource. So it is a good idea to do a deep clean ever so often to not only make them more absorbent, but also just get rid of any maybe buildup or funkiness that can happen. When my daughter was younger, we probably did laundry every day to day and a half, but it did get longer the more we worked on elimination communication and she had less soiled diapers. And we also use cloth wipes, which I actually made from an old flannel bedsheet that I just cut up into little squares, and those have also worked fantastic. And we just throw those in the diaper pail and wash them along with the diapers. And there also are services available which can clean your diapers and give you new ones if that's something you're interested in. We've actually used a lot of different cloth diaper covers because I was given a bunch, And initially I liked the Velcro ones the best, but I did find over time that the Velcro wears out. So I think the snap ones are actually best, and I do like the ones that have adjustable snaps so they grow with your child and you don't need to buy a bunch of different sizes. There are some really beautiful wool covers, which is a more natural route if you're interested in that, but I personally found they were very expensive. And we were also given a bunch of covers, so I wanted to use those instead of buying something new. So there's another question that asks what kind of equipment you need for EC, and also if you EC during nursing and how that works. I never did that and I'm not sure how that would work. In terms of equipment, we just got a little potty. This one I really like because you can remove the inside and you can use this separately, so you can hold it on your lap and hold them over that. Or we also turned it around at the beginning and had it on a table. This style of potty worked well for us, but there are various different styles of potty that people use for EC. So there's another question about if cloth diapering is a mess. So it's definitely more of a mess than having a disposable that you just throw away. We actually didn't have a ton of mess to clean up when it came to poop because of elimination communication. There definitely is more cleanup with cloth diapers, but I think that it's worth it considering how much waste you're saving. Like, diapers just produce an insane amount of waste. One thing I will say though is I am so glad that we got a bidet attachment for our toilet, because we just used that to spray down the pre-fold and get rid of any kind of mess, and that was so much easier than cleaning it up any other way. So that is something I would for sure recommend. I really found that that made cleanup a lot easier and less gross. So this question's interesting. This person says that they looked into EC, but it looked like more work rather than less. What are your thoughts on the workload difference? So EC is definitely more work with a little baby, but it's way less work, I would say, later on. So I guess it really depends on where you want to have your work. And also, you never know, but at least from what I've observed, we have some friends who are really struggling with potty training their toddler. And the goal with EC is that you start potty training right away. So by the time your child is 16, 18, 24 months, they just know how to use the potty, and you don't have to essentially have them unlearn. That was one thing that really resonated with me with EC, is that you are essentially teaching your child to go to the bathroom in their diaper, and then you're teaching them, oh no, we actually don't do that, we go in the potty. Humans, even from babies, don't naturally want to soil themselves. So if you give them the opportunity to go somewhere else, babies take it. And that was something that I was really surprised by. I did not think that when our daughter was so young that she would be going in a potty, and she did. She would like hold it and go in the potty when we held her over there. It was actually really impressive. So I personally really like how hygienic it is. I like that my child isn't uncomfortable in a dirty diaper. And in terms of workload, yes, it is more work now, but I feel like it's saved us a bunch of work later on. So I guess it just totally depends on how you feel about that. And I think for us, seeing how much other people have struggled with potty training, it definitely also made us want to do it early on. Wow, okay, so I have been talking for a very long time, but I also feel like I've only touched on a very small amount of what I could talk about when it comes to cloth diapering and elimination communication. But I think I've hit on most of the questions that were there. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question though, but I hope that this was interesting for you guys. If there are more specific things you would like to see a video about, or if you have more questions about elimination communication or cloth diapering, let me know. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in another not diaper related video.